Hello and welcome to Midweek News on the Practical IT channel. This is episode number 11 for February 8th, 2023. Let's get started. First up, over at debugpoint.com, we've got an article on 10 things to do after installing Elementary OS 7 Horus. If you're an Elementary OS user, head on over to the Debug Point article and check it out. Next up, we've got a beginner's guide to Linux desktops, and this is by one Christine Hall, who has been writing about Linux for many years. This is over on Phosphorus, and as with many of Christine's articles, this is a great read, and I highly recommend it over on phosphorus.com. If you're doing Linux administration work, you may trip up on whether to use useradd or adduser. There's an article over on linuxandubuntu.com that explains the difference and when you would use each one. Very helpful if you're getting started and you need a way to keep this straight in your head. Head on over to linuxandubuntu.com to read more. Next up, over on neowin.com, we've got Tiny11. It's Windows 11, but lightweight and debloated for older computers. While not everybody's cup of tea, it's worth a look, even just for the novelty factor of it. Back over on phosphorus.com, there is a quick 10-question quiz about the Linux desktop. If you have 2 or 3 minutes and you want to see how you do, head on over and check it out. I scored a 9 out of 10 on my first try through. So, good luck to you. Next up, OpenSSH 9.2 has been released, fixing 3 security issues. As I'm sure most of you are aware, SSH is one of the first services that gets attacked on any Linux server that's connected to the internet. So obviously we want to keep our SSH server up to date and make sure we're as safe as we possibly can be, especially from ourselves, because we're all human and sometimes we misconfigure things. Tipsonunix.com has an article about how to install the brand new Wine 8.0 on Ubuntu or Linux Mint. Head on over and check out the article and follow along the instructions if you want to try out the latest that Wine has to offer. LinuxCareers.com has a guide to help you discover how long it might take you to learn Linux. Of course, this depends on how much of Linux you want to learn. But nonetheless, the article is a good read and will give you some ways to figure this question out. Next up on linuxconfig.org, we've got an introduction to Linux automation tools and techniques. And if you wanted to get into that kind of work or experiment with it on your own, check the article out. It mentions things like Puppet, Ansible, and SaltStack, as well as CI/CD pipelines and Terraform and all kinds of other fun stuff. So check that one out. linuxconfig.org. Next up, we've got 9to5linux.com and Transmission 4.0. This is an open source cross-platform BitTorrent client. And yes, I know some people have this unnatural aversion to BitTorrent, but here's a fun fact for you. Many Linux distributions make their ISO images available over BitTorrent, and it is 100% completely legal to download your Linux ISOs over BitTorrent. What else you do with it is your own business. And our last article for the day, Endless OS 5.0 is out with its refreshed desktop built on GNOME 41 and support for Wayland. If you want to take a look at something that's a little bit of a novelty and not as well known as it probably should be here in the US, check out Endless OS 5.0. And last but not least, our countdown timer. There are 978 days until the end of Windows 10 security upgrades. And on that note, my friends, I want to thank you for watching. You know what to do if you got something out of the video. And please feel free to leave comments and pass this along to a friend or colleague or family member that may find it useful or interesting. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.